welcome to City Life. It's really good to have you here with us today. Today on the program, smoke-free Canterbury. Deon from Rebuild Christchurch is back again. Catch the Rising Stars concert and art with Dr. Warren Feeney. But first, June was Bowel Cancer Awareness Month and we caught up with Associate Professor Gearry and CTV's Pete Smith as Pete was planning on getting a colonoscopy. Now, so after meeting with me last time, you met up with Pete following that program. Now, tell us about that initial discussion you had with him.
Sure. So the first thing that we had to do was actually discuss what the colonoscopy would involve. So for that we met at my rooms and we went through the procedure in a lot of detail so that Pete understood the benefits of the procedure but also the potential risks, which are very small. And he was able to answer any questions that he had about the procedure, and I was able to give him some bowel prep, which he took away to clean his bowel out, obviously, before we did the procedure. So I think that was very useful for Pete, just to have his fears allayed, so that he knew what he'd be getting himself in for 1 week later. Yeah,
so then, now we do have some footage of the colonoscopy. Now, but first of all, let's look at the rate of gut disease here in Canterbury.
So we do have very high rates of inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease and bowel cancer in New Zealand. As I mentioned last time, Kanita, 1 in 86 Canterburyans have celiac disease, about 1 in 250 have inflammatory bowel disease, and by the age of 75, 1 in 17 New Zealanders will have been diagnosed with colorectal cancer or bowel cancer. And that's obviously the big thing that we were interested in promoting last month, was really trying to prevent that. And prevention is all about finding the disease early and finding the disease perhaps at the polyp stage before it progresses to bowel cancer.
With last month being a Bowel Cancer Awareness Month, what kind of things happened around the country? Were things advertised more? Or?
Sure. So there's a lot of people in the media that were talking about bowel cancer. A lot of people who had heard about bowel cancer came out into the media and spoke very openly about that. Pete did his part by coming forward and having a colonoscopy on CTV, which was great, I think, just to demystify the process so that people understand that having this sort of test done, while it may be scary in theory, the practice of it isn't so bad.
So let's look at the importance of discussing this kind of thing with your GP. You know, does it start with a sore stomach?
I think it all comes down to symptoms, and if anyone has new symptoms relating to the bowel, so they become constipated or have diarrhoea or have bleeding from the bowel or weight loss, it's very important that those symptoms are discussed with their GP. And maybe that there's a very simple explanation and a colonoscopy isn't needed, but it's very important that your GP is the first port of call to discuss those questions.
Okay, and so it's really important after that to have a colonoscopy?
If it's the right test, as I said earlier, some people who perhaps are young and have got other explanations for their symptoms may not need that sort of procedure, and the GP may have other techniques or other investigations or treatments that they can initiate. But often a colonoscopy may be required, and in that situation the GP can refer someone through either to the public or private sector, depending on how they wish to progress.
Does bowel cancer affect men and women the same?
Absolutely, it does affect men and women. Women are much better at going to the doctor than men, though, and that's one of the reasons why we promote men's health as well now as women's health, in that it used to be that women were very good at coming forward, but men tend to sit on the problem, don't tend to be so vocal about their problems, internalise things. So we're trying to promote that not only women go to the doctor, but men as well, if they have new symptoms.
So is bowel cancer something to do with family history? Absolutely,
that's a very good point. We know that family history is one of the strongest risk factors for bowel cancer. So if someone in your family has had bowel cancer, particularly at a young age, that's another very important thing to discuss with your doctor, particularly if there's more than one affected family member, that risk starts to go up. And we want to, as I say, prevent bowel cancer if we can.
OK, Richard, we've got a clip, a 2.5 minute clip of Pete's visit to see you, so let's have a look at that.
Sure. Let's take the gown off, because you don't need that. So the process at the moment is that the nurses here, Karen and Marie, are going to check that you are who you say you are. It's always very important that we do the right procedure on the right person. That could be embarrassing if we were to do the wrong thing on the wrong person. And then we'll hook you up to the monitoring equipment so we can monitor your blood pressure and heart rate and things throughout the procedure. Just relax your hand there. We'll give that medication now. 4 and 50. So that works quite quickly, Pete. You'll find that you're feeling sleepy and relaxed reasonably quickly. Just go with it. Don't try and stay awake. Just go with the nice sensation that'll be rolling over you in the next moment or two. It's a pretty straightforward procedure. It can take between perhaps 10 and 30 minutes, depending on what we find and how easy it is for us to navigate our way around the colon. And along the way we may find some abnormalities, and if we do, we'll treat them while we're there. So this is an endoscope. This is actually a scope that's used for gastroscopy, but it's very similar to one used for colonoscopy. Very small movements at on the wheels here produce very small movements at the end of the scope, and that's important when you're trying to essentially operate down the end of the scope by taking off polyps and things, you need to be able to be sure that you are accurate in what you're doing. And you can see here the high definition gives really good detail of what we're doing, which means that if we're examining inside the stomach or the bowel, we get fantastic views of what's going on. It becomes a very good way of diagnosing problems that might be happening. The things that we're really looking for are polyps in someone of Pete's age, because we know that polyps can predispose to cancers or become cancers. So what we'd like to do is, if we find a polyp, we'd like to remove that, because if the polyp's gone, the risk of that polyp becoming cancer also goes, which means that we've been successful at hopefully preventing cancer, which is what we really like to do. What we can see here is the end of the bowel and where the small bowel joins the large bowel, and we're just having a good look around that area at the moment. And what you find in just a second is that we actually found a very small polyp near to there. So there you can see growth of tissue off the bowel wall, and we don't know whether this polyp could be one that becomes cancerous or not. Here we go, snare comes out over the top of the polyp, and then we tighten the snare around the base of the polyp to be sure we've got it all. Then we get it in a good position. We want to make sure that everything looks okay around it, that it's safe to take the polyp off. It's gone white and we've cut through the base of the polyp and it's fallen off. So what I'll do now is I'll suck that polyp up through the scope, and then we send it to the laboratory for analysis.
Wow, incredible. So it's very detailed there.
It is. So the great thing about the equipment that we use is that it magnifies the image, which means that we can see very small abnormalities. And that polyp there was very small, maybe 5 millimetres, but of course on the screen it looked very large. And by getting the endoscope into the right position, we can then pop that lasso or that snare around it and burn that polyp off. And that's very satisfying, because it means that that polyp's gone, it can't become cancerous, and we can hopefully improve someone's outcome in the long term. But we can do other things down the scope as well. We can fix blood vessels and other things as well if we need to. So the technology is fantastic and really has been a great advance in the way that we deal with people with digestive diseases over the last 20 or so years.
So when will you see Pete again?
So I'll probably catch up with him next week, and we'll discuss the results of the biopsy of the polypectomy. So the polyp has gone to the laboratory, where a pathologist looks at it under a microscope and tells us what the characteristics of the polyp are and what his risk for growing more polyps would be in the future, which will determine whether he needs more colonoscopies or not. Okay.
So if it is all clear, when would he need to meet with you again?
So if it was a benign polyp that had no adverse signs within it when it was looked down the microscope, then maybe we could think about repeating the procedure in 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
But if it had bad prognostic signs around it, then we might want to do it a little bit sooner. It looked like a safe polyp though, and I think it'll be good news for Pete.
Great, okay. So other people who are thinking about things, well, say for example, to have their bowel checked out, this is a common thing?
Absolutely. There are thousands of these tests done every year in New Zealand, in Canterbury, both at the public hospital and in the private sector as well. And really, if you have either an increased family history of bowel cancer, or if you have symptoms, the key person to see is your GP, and your GP can work out what the best test is and refer you to the right person after that.
Oh, that's great. Richard, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing Pete's story with us.
Thank you.
It's very interesting. Okay, we'll be back after this break. You're back with City Life, and I'd like to welcome Cheryl from Smoke Free Canterbury. Good to have you here.
Good to be here, thanks.
Now, Parliament has just passed the Smoke Free Environments Amendment Bill. What does this mean for New Zealand?
That means a number of things. Probably the most visible is going to be the removal of tobacco displays. Currently, whenever you walk into thousands of outlets throughout New Zealand, your petrol stations, dairies, supermarkets, you're confronted with that massive wall of tobacco right behind the cash register, so nobody, no matter the age, can avoid seeing them for any purchase. So when the law comes into effect, the retail outlets will have a certain amount of time to put those out of sight. So, you know, this is a great move, because out of sight is out of mind, and we know it will certainly protect children from tobacco marketing.
Now, I notice now that they have the screens over them, you know, the ones they pull up and down. That won't do, will it?
As long as they're out of sight, they are allowed to obviously open them when they get product out. So for a lot of places, they will be able to just put those screens in. So what that will mean is that it will be a cost-effective solution for retailers. So it shouldn't have to, you know, cost them a huge amount to change the outfittings of these stores.
Okay. Now, the government recently announced an aspiration to have a smoke-free Aotearoa by 2025.
They did, that's right.
So why is this?
That is, I guess, the recognition that tobacco is the single most preventable cause of disease and death in this country, actually in the whole world. And, you know, we want to put an end to it. A smoke-free nation does not mean prohibition, you know, it doesn't mean not allowing tobacco. What it means is trying to get to the smallest amount of tobacco use possible, say under 5% of the nation's smoking. So it was fantastic that the government actually, you know, recognised this as a goal that they want to achieve, and the law they've just passed last week will certainly go a step towards it, but we'll need a lot more different actions across a whole range of spectrums of things to actually make that a reality. But, you know, hopefully that is something that we can work towards, and something that our future, you know, and children deserve a future for.
What do you think a smoke-free New Zealand would look like?
I guess it would mean eventually a lot less deaths. At the end of the day, to put it in perspective, 5,000 Kiwis die every single year from tobacco. You know, you look at, say, the Twin Towers, that was only 3,000 people, yet we have 5,000 every single year. And yet we allow, you know, tobacco to be sold at every single dairy and outlet with comparatively few regulations compared to the damage that it does cause. So it'll mean tightening up on the availability of tobacco in terms of what's coming into the country, potentially looking at progressively lowering, say, the nicotine content in it, because at the end of the day it's you know, one of the most addictive substances that we know. It'll mean looking at different ways that we can prevent young people starting smoking, and providing the sort of support and programs to people who are smoking and who want to quit, because we do know that 3 out of 5 smokers have actually tried to quit at least once in the past 5 years. So a lot of smokers actually would prefer to be not smoking, but it is a difficult addiction to beat.
Now, the Māori Affairs Select Committee have actually done an inquiry into tobacco, the tobacco industry and the impacts of tobacco. Tell me about this.
They did, and that was almost a world first, really, in terms of a select committee looking directly at the tobacco industry. And they started that back in 2010 and did submissions all around the country where they heard about the impact tobacco has on Māori, but also on all New Zealanders, and they came up with a very comprehensive range of about 42 recommendations that they believed would be needed, you know, to achieve a smoke-free nation. Now, the government have acted on a small number of those already, which is fantastic. While they did pass the Smoke-Free Environments Act last week, which brings in a few of them, there was certainly a lot more steps they could have taken if they'd wanted. So we're certainly going to need much bolder action in future from the government in terms of legislation if we're going to achieve that 2025 vision.
Okay. What kind of impact do you think smoking has on Canterbury?
A pretty big one, obviously. Our three top killers in Canterbury region are all related to smoking. Your lung cancers, heart disease, a lot of your respiratory illnesses. For Māori in Canterbury, lung cancer is double the rate of non-Māori. So it certainly is related to a lot of the diseases we see, and diseases that impact children, obviously, as well, cot deaths and asthma, all types of things like that. So it certainly has a big impact on the health of Cantabrians.
Okay, and finally, what kind of impact has it had on Cantabrians in regard to the earthquake?
Certainly it has had a bit of an impact. We know anecdotally, obviously, when people in times of stress, you know, they reach for the things that make them feel better. And because of the way nicotine works in the body, it works in a part of the brain that's the reward centre. So you have a puff of your cigarette and it makes you feel good. So obviously if people are stressed, you know, they reach for a cigarette because it makes them feel good. So we know that the number of calls to the quit line have reduced dramatically since September. Which that's the free 0800 number that people can call. We know anecdotally as well that possibly the nicotine replacement therapy sales have dropped, so that's your patches and gums. So we suspect that certainly people have stopped having the same amount of quit attempts as they normally do. Whether or not it's encouraged new people to start smoking, we don't have that data yet, but certainly Smoke Free Canterbury and its member organisations are looking at ways that we can sort of best serve the needs of Canterbury at the moment, and perhaps tackle some of this as what we suspect, you know, people turning to cigarettes as a bit of a stress relief, which, you know, might seem like the right thing to do in the short term, but certainly will have long-term consequences.
Okay, Smoke-Free Environments Bill, when does that come into force?
I believe it's July next year, so from that time retailers will have a year to remove their displays, and from July next year that will mean the smoke-free enforcement officers also have the ability to give instant fines for any retailers who are breaching the law, such as underage sales or illegally displaying tobacco, those types of things. So certainly within 2 years' time we should not see any tobacco in retail outlets on display.
Okay, the quitline number?
Quitline 0800 778 778.
Okay, great.
Free phone.
Excellent. Yeah. Cheryl, really good to have you here on the program.
Thank you.
We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back to City Life, and I'd like to welcome Claire and Sophie from Sport Canterbury. Good to have you both here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now let's look at the programs that you're running at the moment.
Yeah, so we're running 4 Be Active programs in Christchurch this coming school term, so starting in August. They're running in Shirley, New Brighton, in the Midgley Park and from Pioneer Stadium.
Okay, so what kind of people are these suited to, Sophie?
So the programs are open to anyone who's over 18 years of age and who's wanting to increase their levels of physical activity, and just have to be medically able to sort of low to moderate activity. I guess recently we've found there's quite a different range of people that are wanting to come as well. It's not necessarily people who are fully inactive, but a lot of people who are just wanting a bit of help as well to increase their levels of activity as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of the activities that you do at Be Active.
Definitely. So the aim of the programs is that we're giving you a bit of a taste of what's available in your community, because we've found that a lot of people don't really have a really good idea of the great activity that is actually in their back door, and lots of people don't necessarily like travelling across town. So depending on where the program is what's delivered. But a couple of examples would be some aqua in the Pioneer program. They'll be using the pool, introduction to gyms, yoga or Tai Chi or Pilates, circuits, some home exercises as well, teaching people what they can do at home with any equipment they may have in the kitchen. Lots of a good variety of things. We try some modified sports, so a bit of badminton and hockey and netball and things.
Okay.
Yeah, all aimed at that introductory level though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sophie, let's look at things, topics that support a healthy lifestyle.
So we always try to arrange, we sort of look at things like motivation and goal setting, the benefits of physical activity and how it's going to help them, as a lot of people have sort of different health issues that they come with as well. We link in with the Mental Health Foundation, always have a great talk about sort of mental health and physical wellness, and then we normally have 2 sessions that a dietitian comes in and talk, which are always really popular, the likes of sort of snacking or cooking and eating for 1 or 2, those sort of topics that people are interested in.
Okay,
Yeah.
So are these aimed at people who work during the day or people who are at home during the day? What time of day are these?
Yeah, so probably both. We try and make sure that it suits everyone, because we also have shift workers as well we need to take into consideration. This last term we had 1 evening program and the rest were throughout the day. For term 3, so the August programs are actually going to be all throughout the day, and that's just because being winter it is hard for, we find we get lower numbers at the evening. But going into summer we always did make sure we deliver in the evening, and alongside the programs we also run one-off have-a-goes where anyone can come along, and we try and have them in the evenings as well, and that's going to an actual provider in the community and running a session from there. So we try and make sure that we make it suitable for everyone, and also provide individual support which we can offer in the evenings as well. So yeah, good variety.
I guess it's also a really good time to get out there and meet other people in your community as well.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing we're finding. A lot of people, it's the social element as much as the physical activity, and we have a lot of laughs along the way, particularly the likes of when we do Zumba or line dancing or...
Yeah.
I've got 2 left feet, clearly. But yeah, and we always have a cup of tea at the end, and that's a big, and we've probably found lately people have been staying quite a lot longer, and lots of people who come to programs are on their own, so a lot of them say it's just really nice having something in the week. They know they come, they get their activity, and then it's that nice social aspect as well.
That's cool.
We have found as well, because the programs just go for the 10 weeks, the school term, but we get some really nice friendships formed throughout those 10 weeks, and they continue on afterwards. So in that sense, it's kind of building the community up and running small activity groups within their community and keeping those friendships going. And yeah,
Cool.
it's great.
Let's look at some of the tutors that you have there.
So we have a real range we always try to make them really local for whichever area we're in, because the big thing is, say we had someone come in and take line dancing, we then always tell the participants where they can go to do it, so that they, or Zumba, you know, we have different instructors for around the areas. If we do sports, you know, trying to link them in. So it's very much each area, what's happening local in there.
And it's an affordable thing to do as well, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. So it's $3 a session, so definitely affordable. And like I said, it's that good kind of taster of whether or not you're going to enjoy it before you have to pay. Because a lot of things you have to pay in advance or a term in advance, and you don't always know if you're necessarily going to enjoy it. So it's a good chance to, just pay $3 a week, and then like Sophie said, we then link them into the community level of their activity. But we're also conscious that we would never bring in a provider who's actually really expensive outside of our program, because it wouldn't make sense. So making sure that anything we do promote is affordable for the majority of the participants there.
So it's starting at the beginning of August, August the 3rd.
Yeah.
So what's the first session? Is it a surprise, or can we find out beforehand what it is?
So the first session normally at most programs is just a really fun, it's often like a low impact music exercise kind of class or a circuit, or the first day is really just about meeting everyone and how the program goes, and then so it's just normally a few good laughs on the first day.
Cool. So you can go online, or we can give them a call to see what's coming up next.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of ways you can find out more about it, or if you would like to register, there's a 0800 number, so it's 0800 active, which is 0800 2284 83, and it comes through to myself at Sport Canterbury, or you can visit the Sport Canterbury website, which is www.sportcanterbury.org.nz.
Great.
So they're probably the two easiest ways, or you can also, all doctors and practice nurses know about the programs as well, and that's a way to find out more.
All right, so it's Be Active programs with Sport Canterbury.
That's right.
Yeah.
Claire and Sophie, really good to have you here on the program today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
After the break, we catch up with Deon Swiggs from Rebuild Christchurch. You're back with City Life, and I'd like to welcome back to the program Deon Swiggs from Rebuild Christchurch. Good to have you here.
Hey, thank you.
Now, for the people who didn't see our first interview together, explain Rebuild Christchurch for us.
Okay, so Rebuild Christchurch is a website based on the internet, obviously, and it's basically bringing back all the information from all the different resources that are actually posting out information. So, you know, EQC, Flexures, there's Sarah, the council, but also sort of the community groups. So all the community groups that actually are interacting with the website, they can actually have all their information actually on there as well.
So you are collating all this information and putting it into one site?
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, the idea at the start was, you know, a one-stop place that, you know, people can go to get all that information where they want to know what's actually happening. But it's also growing a little bit further than that. So now we're having a bit more community interaction where these residents groups are actually going on and actually posting the information specifically for their location as well.
Now, there's information coming in all the time, so you must be really busy.
Yeah. You know, about 60 or 70 sort of articles a day, you know, different people, because we moderate it just because I don't really want to have a negative, I don't want it to be a negative sort of website, so it's always a positive light. So you sometimes get some interesting sort of things that come on there and you just sort of have to go, well, is this appropriate or not?
So you are moderating it?
Not so much, yeah, a little bit, but it's like, because you've got to sort of keep that sort of community, people need to know what's happening, people need to know how people are feeling, so we are a little bit, just to say that it's not sort of a negative and sort of attacking other people, but, you know, in the sense that people are actually expressing how they're feeling in the community, yeah.
Now, you've got some new features on your website.
Yeah, we do. So, I mean, we've got the business section, which is actually just about to sort of start. That'll be launched hopefully tomorrow, which is where a business can register their business and actually sort of document how they're building their business in the rebuild of Christchurch and that whole umbrella of the sense as well. At the moment, we've got about 100 businesses that have pre-registered, so they'll be loaded on over the next sort of 24 hours, which is going to be a lot of work over the next couple of hours.
Yeah.
But once it's launched, it'll be sort of ongoing as well, so they're going to be interactive maps and all sorts of nice little features for these businesses.
Now, you've been working with the EQC. Tell me about this.
Not officially yet. We're working a little bit with the EQC because they're trying to get a lot of their information out. Now, our website gets, you know, the interaction about 8,000 visitors a day on average. So it is a lot of people going to the website and coming back to the website for that information. So we want to sort of help the EQC to sort of get a lot of their information out. So we'll have a separate sort of part on the website where the EQC can go, yeah, this is where a lot of our information is going to go.
Okay. Now, you were the first website to develop a zoomable land check. Tell me about this.
So we talked to Sarah when they actually got their PDFs and everything like that, and they said to us, well, hey, can you put that on your website? So we put it on the website, but we stitched all the maps together and basically put a little nice map so people can zoom into their specific location and see if it was red or see if it was yellow or orange or white or whatever it is.
You're doing so much work.
I know, it's a lot of work.
And it's voluntary, right?
Yes, yep. So I mean, I was actually made redundant from my full-time job start of June. So since then, I've actually been working probably 80 hours a week, I'd imagine, full-time on this.
Oh my
getting
gosh.
it together, because there's a lot of people that we're sort of trying to bring together. And it's not going to work unless we do that. There is a need. I mean, obviously having 8,000 people a day interacting on the website, I mean, I'm getting hundreds of emails a day from people, and it is a lot of work, but it's quite rewarding in the whole sense of it as well.
You need to get some funding.
We're trying.
Yeah?
We're trying.
Where are you going?
So I mean, we're setting up. Rebuild Christchurch will be the umbrella. So under the umbrella there'll be the website, obviously, and then there's a number of other interactive kind of things, and every little segment that we're going to have is going to will benefit the community in one way or another. So through those other features that we're going to have, which we haven't quite worked out how they'll work yet, they'll have funding streams that will be. Hopefully we'll be able to tap into.
Okay, so like a sponsorship sort of...
Sponsorship, I mean, there will be advertising opportunities on the website. We haven't gone to that level yet, but there will be advertising opportunities on the website because, I mean, all the traffic is targeted for Christchurch, Christchurch Earthquake, Rebuild Christchurch, so it's a really good opportunity for people. But my main focus is to keep it neutral, keep the website neutral, and then these other little agencies and other things that we're going to set up underneath that Rebuild Christchurch umbrella will really help the community, and hopefully there'll be foundations and stuff that we can get funding from in the future as well, so that we can actually sort of eat.
Yeah. Working 80 hours a week.
It's a lot of work. I mean, I took a couple of days off last week because I sort of got a little bit overwhelmed, and my grandmother was a little bit crook, so I sort of took up after Picton, and it was really good because this week's really crunch week. We've got to sit down and actually crunch the numbers and figure out where we're going to start and how we're going to do this.
How many people are you working with?
So we've got the web developer now, because I'm not personally a web developer, so I sort of learnt everything on Google how to do this and how to do that as I go, and I sort of had to got to the level where we needed somebody professional to do it. So an actual old school friend of mine, Ben Young's doing that now. And we've got a few other people. There's probably about 6 people involved now, so specialty sort of areas that are helping me to sort of, for the marketing side of things, for the comms and PR, as you know, and sort of general organisational stuff, and an accountant, and hopefully we'll get a lawyer on board so that we can get the rights for the charitable trust as well.
Yeah. Tell me about the charitable trust.
Okay, so we're going to set up a charitable trust. We're still early days in this, but what we want to do is the Rebuild Christchurch theme is such a powerful theme that's going to be really powerful in the future. Like my vision for this is not now, it's 5, 10, 15 years in the future.
Yep.
And if we can grow something now with the right foundations, we can really make a massive difference in the community going forward, and I think that's what the charitable trust will do. There'll be plenty of opportunities to talk about it in the future, but it's happening.
So how are you supporting yourself?
Well, I've got the mortgage and I've reversed it, so I'm just living off the mortgage.
Oh, all right. I think you really need some help, some funding help and some sponsorship. Anybody out there who's willing to help Deon, let me know.
Thanks.
Okay, so the biggest thing that you are wanting to do next with Rebuild Christchurch?
The biggest thing I want to do, focusing on the offline stuff. So we've got the website is developing quite well. It's getting that massive interaction every day. We need more people registering their businesses at the moment. We need more people to register, because it's not going to work unless people go to it and actually upload their own stories. Because you can go to the website, register onto the website as a person, and you can go up the top and say, I want to submit an article, and all those articles get posted on there, and people can read how you're feeling, or if you've got your specific story. But the main thing that I'm focusing on right now is the offline stuff, so we can actually get some traction in the community, actually get out there and interact a little bit more.
All right, so Rebuild Christchurch, tell us the website.
rebuildchristchurch.co.nz.
Easy.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, so it's out there, and you just type in Rebuild Christchurch into Google or almost anything really to do with the earthquake, and you'll find it.
Cool. Really good to have you on the program. Good to catch up with you. We should catch up with you again in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Yep.
Let us know how your sponsorship is coming along.
Yeah, we will. Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome Anna Midgley and Tasman Davids from the Catch the Rising Star concert. Good to have you both on the program.
Lovely to be here, thank you.
Now, it's a very catchy title. Tell me about it.
The Catch the Rising Stars actually is to catch all these young people who are Arts Excellence Award winners, a lot of them, recipients of awards from the Dame Malvina Major Foundation. And it just happened that Tasman had emailed me and asked me if they could do a concert to raise money for the city. We didn't have a venue. We needed a venue where Tasman could dance, and the only venue, of course, was the Aurora Centre, because it's got a sprung floor. And so once Tasman had emailed me and said that he was enthusiastic, I then went out and found out who else would like to perform, and all these young people wanted to perform. So we've got Tony Lin coming in from Germany, and we've got, I have to look here myself quickly and see, we've got Byron Newton coming in from Cardiff. He's a euphonium player, and all these young people who have been recipients wanted to do something for the city. So that's really wonderful.
That is amazing. Now, Taz, where did this idea come from?
We discussed the year before actually doing a concert, I think around about October sometime, just after the first earthquake, and we sort of said, well, we could do one, but it's sort of a bit too soon, and then sort of February hit and it was put back again and again and again. So it came from the idea that just basically everyone needs a bit of cheering up occasionally, and I think Christchurch, especially at the moment, needs something just to help us all out.
Now, Anna, tell me about the Dame Malvina Major Foundation.
Right. Well, the Dame Malvina Major Foundation is a national organisation, and we have committees around New Zealand. But the Christchurch Committee particularly has given over $200,000 in the last 10 years for the Dame Malvina Major Foundation Arts Excellence Awards, and Tasman is one of the recipients. And with these awards, we reward only excellence. I mean, it's people who are about to embark on an international career, either to study abroad or to actually go and launch a career abroad. So we help them. So it's really, they have to be at a very high standard. And we have, for instance, Tony Lin, who is in Germany at the moment, was accepted into a German program there, and he won the New Zealand Concerto competition about 4 years ago, aged 19, very young, and now he's studying in German, and he has just won, come second in piano concerto competition in Germany. So, he's coming back to play. So we do reward these very, very able young people.
How incredible that these people are coming from around the world for this performance.
Yes.
Are they being sponsored to come back?
Nope, they're coming back of their own volition. Sometimes they're here, and but they do want to be here for Christchurch. We have a young girl, we have Rachel Pike coming in from New York. She's at the Manhattan School of Music, and she's an opera singer, and she's just been given a scholarship for her second year study. So we helped her in that first year, and now she's been given a scholarship for her second year study. So yes, and then all the other young people who are taking part are just beginning to climb that ladder of excellence. So it should be a wonderful, wonderful evening, and we do encourage everybody to come.
Now, Tasman, you're off to Russia.
Yes, I am.
Tell me about this.
Basically, I was accepted into the Vaganova Ballet Academy, which is in St. Petersburg. It's the associate school with the Mariinsky Theatre, which was previously known as the Kirov. It's sort of the training institution in the world for ballet. First New Zealanders to get in, as far as we know.
Wow.
So I've been accepted into there, and it's sort of produced great names as Brezhnikov, Nureyev, Pavlova, and all the current superstars of the sort of ballet world as well. So it's a huge deal. Yeah.
I'd say you'd be feeling excited.
Feeling excited, yeah. So it's a big long road to getting there, but it's going to be great once I get there. Yeah.
Now, this will be your last performance before you leave?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I've sort of done lots over the years in Christchurch, but this will be the last one. So yeah, it's going to be a special one because it'll be sort of the last time my parents see me dance and family and friends before I sort of take off. So yeah.
And how long?
He's also doing a pas de deux, which is going to be absolutely lovely. So I'll leave him to explain about that.
We've been lucky enough to, for an old friend of mine, Katie Hurst-Saxton, who's principal of the Royal New Zealand Ballet, is coming down to help out. She's a Christchurch girl. She's doing the Sleeping Beauty pas de deux with me, which will be really, really nice. And it'll be beautiful to see her dance because she's a stunning dancer.
Wow, this is going to be a very lovely concert.
It is going to be a lovely
When is
concert.
it?
It's on the 26th of July, which is Tuesday, at the Aurora Centre.
Okay.
And we need to sell 702 tickets to have a full house.
Okay, and where can we get our tickets from?
And the tickets come through Dash Ticketing, which is a new ticketing, and we can give you that
It's
information.
dashtickets.co.nz.
That's one.
Right.
And people can pick up tickets if they wish at 363 Colombo Street, which is the Spotlight Plaza. They have a booth there.
Oh, good.
But booking online or on the 0800 number, we can give you the 0800 number. That's 0800 327 484. They only charge $2 extra.
Oh, good.
So the tickets are $20, so it would be simply $22.
And the money is going to be...
The money is going to helping to rebuild Christchurch.
That's amazing. What a great initiative, Taz.
Yeah, well, we hope that it just helps out in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we see the whole list of people who will be performing?
Well, we have a list of people who are performing. They are actually on the poster. And so we have Impact Studio Elite Squad, 22 young people. Anna Argyle, soprano. Bryony Gibson Cornish is playing viola. Andrew Grennan, tenor. Rachel Hugh, soprano. Elizabeth Harris and Rachel Saunders, a mezzo-soprano and soprano. Byron Newton, euphonium. Elizabeth Hannah, soprano. Juliet Reynolds, Midgley and Impact Studio. Juliet will do music theatre. Tasman and Katie Hurst-Saxton. Amina Edris, a soprano. Amina and Andrew singing a duet. Tony Lynn on piano. He's playing 3 poetic polkas by Smetana. And then we have Rachel Pike, mezzo-soprano. Juliet Midgley doing a music theatre number. Tasman David's doing a crowd pleaser.
Oh, excellent.
And then we have Dame Malvina Major ending the evening with a young chorus.
All right, this sounds good. 26th of July, dashtickets.co.nz or at the Spotlight Plaza booth there.
Yes.
Tasman, very good to see you. Best of luck
Thank you.
for the performance and for your trip to Russia.
Thank you.
And Anna, really good to see you here on the program.
Nice to see you.
Catch the
Thank
Rising
you so
Stars.
much.
After the break, we catch up with Warren Feeney. Welcome back to City Life, and finally on the program, our arts commentator Warren Feeney. Always good to have you here.
Hi, Kaneda.
Now, this week we're talking about your new gallery.
Yes, well, it's my gallery, plus also Ronald Mottram's. We've set the gallery up together, and it's a gallery that's focused on the support for Christchurch artists. So the opening exhibition's this Wednesday, and it's 18 artists, and you know, that whole thing of being, I guess, diplomatic and fair to everybody, how to choose 18 out of the list. The list was put together by myself and Felicity Milburn from the Christchurch Art Gallery and Ronald Mottram. So we basically looked at, actually we drew up our own list, and we found we had about 2/3, we were all sharing the same names, which was a really good place to start.
Yeah.
And we've chosen artists going, I mean, a stage 4 painter at the University of Canterbury, right through to people like Denise Copeland, Philip Trostrom, and it covers sort of early, mid to late career senior New Zealand artists, as well as jewellery, painting, printmaking, sculpture. So it's kind of, the intention is to give a sense of the broad range of practice, and also we've asked everybody to put in new works. So it's worked out in most cases, so hopefully people coming to the opening will be pleased and surprised, and there'll be stuff they haven't seen before.
Now, do you see this gallery having a life beyond the Christchurch rebuild?
Yes, I think it will. There's a gallery, and then there's going to be 6 artist studios behind that as well as part of the same complex. So there's the notion of a really dynamic program there, because I mean it's close to CPIT. There are a number of other things happening around that area at the moment. So it's I think the notion of having the artist studio and then the gallery as well, there's a really good sense of it being a centre for current practice in Christchurch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of the highlights for Chambers at 241.
Okay. The first work I think we should have is, this is Sam Harrison, and I think this is called Dead Man. It's a woodblock print, and it's about 3 metres in length. So yeah, it's a lying man, and it's a figure that's very similar to Holman's Dead Christ, which is not surprising because Sam Harrison's worked in sculpture and painting, but also a very keen printmaker, and the human figure is very important to him, especially the nude, which he's had a great interest in over the last 2 years. It's there's a couple of things I think about the work that's really interesting. One is it's been printed on from a sheet of ply, so he's cut into a sheet of plywood and shaped the figure from that. And he's very keen to leave, he quite often leaves the surface of the wood grain showing through in it. So it's really strong in its sense of materials. And also just the notion of the dead figure. He's interested in, I guess, drawing attention to the notion of the human body as kind of actually a bit like a carcass. And he's actually just started on a new body of work very recently based on dead animals, and he's also a very keen hunter. So that's something that he's currently looking at, the notion, I guess, of an individual holding more than just a spark of life, that is a sense of spirituality and kind of the reality of death. He's very keen that his work's quite accessible, and they're quite interesting confrontational images and incredibly beautifully crafted. He only took up printmaking in his last year at CPIT School of Art and Design, so he came to it quite late, but straight away he was making prints that, in terms of being able to model and shape the human form, they're really stunning works.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the next one.
Okay, this one is Trailing de Vries, and this is called Pulling Time. And this is a work where I guess it's a painting that's partly about painting, because you've got this kind of popular culture with this kind of cartoon figure and those big splashes of paint. And one of the interesting things about his work is there's always these contradictions going on. That is, the splash of paint there's been very carefully crafted and shaped, even though it kind of looks like it's just hit the canvas. And you have that very, very figurative sort of aspect of that, you know, the shape of that form in behind, but then behind that it's very abstract. So the work's, I guess it's a painter painting about what he does and the different ways in which painting kind of deceives and imitates the real world, and also is obviously paint on a surface.
Okay.
So the next work, this is Martin Whitworth. So Martin Whitworth has been exhibiting probably since the early 70s or late 70s. He's a Christchurch-based painter, obviously. This work is called Architectonus, and it's kind of about architects, but the interesting thing about his work is that it's also really a series of abstract shapes, the reds against the green, the yellow, and then there are these figures. So there's stories going on, but you can never actually quite work out a linear narrative or a complete story to it. So if these are architects and possibly looking at designs and buildings, and that seems to be a part of it, but the tie that one of them is wearing is kind of like it could be a noose hanging the figure. So there are all these curious contradictions, and you kind of leave the works thinking, what's going on here? And the next work is Sophie Scott, and this is called Stock. And she's the Year 4 painting student at the University of Canterbury. But she's working on recycled wooden materials, and the images are always kind of just coming into focus or just coming into being, I think, with this. And so this is Stock, and it's kind of like a group of people queuing up to board a ship or a boat, sort of a passage or a journey. But it's also very indefinite about exactly what is going on, very evocative, and really wonderful use of the background surface, the wood and the grain in the wood, and the way that contrasts as a kind of a landscape for all those possibly seated figures in the foreground.
Okay.
And this is Graham Bennett. This is called High Key Stakeholder. So I contacted Graham. I mean, Graham Bennett's probably best known for Reasons for Voyaging, the work outside the Christchurch Art Gallery.
Ah.
And this is, I guess, typical of his in that his work is always about balance. And generally he's referring to a balance between nature and people, and the notion of the ecology and the environment. This work in key stakeholders, we'll see from some of the details, you've got this ball on the left and then on the right there are these keys, and they have phrases on them to do with making decisions, and there's grasp, and there's also trick or truth, and a sort of a contradiction and notions of resolving and thinking and resolving issues. So here's the notion of the key possibly unlocking or opening a door to something that might be deception or might be a truth. And he said he was interested in that with all the debate currently going on in the community about the rebuild of Christchurch, and he saw this as having, I suppose, presenting all the issues in kind of a very symbolic way.
Right. So that's the final one there?
I think that's the last one, yeah.
Right. So that's Chambers at 241, opens tomorrow night. I'm going to guess it's 241 Morehouse Ave.
It is 241 Morehouse Avenue. Yeah, there's a big sign up the top that says that too. Yeah.
All right, so Wednesday to Friday, 11 till 5:30 p.m. Saturday, 10 till 2. So that's Chambers at 241.
Yeah.
Now, 183 Milton Street, Sophie Gallery and Jonathan Smart, they've all got...
they've all had openings this week.
This week as well.
Yeah.
Now, that's the first time since the earthquake, surely.
Yes, it's interesting because it's happened, and it's happened sort of quite naturally. It just, there is now galleries running good ongoing programs. And the thing that just impresses me is, while there aren't sort of 14 galleries here now as there were, say, 3 or 4 years ago, the quality of the programs and the exhibitions is really high. I mean, it's as easily as good as anything in any of the major centres in New Zealand. So, I mean, Jonathan Smart has Joanna Langford, who was the Olivia Spencer Bowel winner 2 or 3 years ago. She has some great work in the public collection of the Christchurch Art Gallery, and I mean, that'll be a show well worth seeing, as is, Milton Street too. They've run some really excellent exhibitions.
Right. And
the sculpture show too, as well, at the School of Art. So it's great to see 3 galleries all having openings this week.
All right, OK, well, best of luck with your opening tomorrow night, and
Thank you.
that's until the 6th of August, so
Yeah.
good luck with that. Thanks for coming on the programme.
Thank you.
Now, a few notices. Collectors are wanted for the Multiple Sclerosis and Parkinson's Society's street appeal. That's on the 2nd of September. So if you have a bit of time on the 2nd of September, why don't you give them a call, 366 2857. 366 2857. Now, I have had a couple of emails. Kevin and Colleen are a little bit concerned about how good I am, or not so good I am, at gardening, but I tell you, Rachel Vogan will be helping me out. I think she's actually going to give me a project, but thanks for your email. I know you're not really concerned, but... and happy birthday to Christine Mayo. So if you've got anything you would like for me to announce here on City Life, email me, kaneta@ctv.co.nz, or you can give Marianne a call, 377 033. Now, if there are any episodes of City Life you would like to watch, you can watch them on demand. All you need to do is go to ctv.co.nz and find the big YouTube logo and click on that. And we have all the City Life episodes there for you to have a look at. Again, you can get in touch with us, kaneta@ctv.co.nz, 377 033, or you can write to us, PO Box 1100 Christchurch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.